Hello everyone, my name is Kamal Kumar. I have completed my graduation in last year, May 2024. After being passed from the graduation, I enrolled in a UI UX design bootcamp, which continued for 9 months, which continued for 9 months. It was a tough, intense. It was a tough, intense 9 to 9 placement session. It was 9 to 9 placement where I learned about all of the steps in UI and UX in UI and UX. So let's start with UI and UX. UI refers for user interface and UX refers for user experience. UI comes under user experience. UI is basically the screen that we interact with, the buttons, the text, font size, spacing, and user experience is making business helping business to achieve their goal while helping users to achieve their goal. So today we will learn about visual design and color theory. Color helps us to guide users, improve readability, and creating smooth experiences. We will begin with colors. Like through colors or visual design, we can judge a product how premium and trustworthy that product is. As soon as we add colors to picture, it becomes easy to distinguish. If it works in real life, it will make sense in digital product too. Colors is basically way of non-verbal communication, and we use color to differentiate from each other. Color work as a affordance and signifier, whether something can be interacted with, and yes, how do we interact with? It shows whether something can be interacted with, and if yes, how do we interact with it? How do we interact with it? If something has a primary color, it can be interacted with. Color plays an important role as an affordance and signifier. We will begin with color psychology. How do you want to impact the behavior of the user? Color psychology declares how do you want to impact the behavior of your users. It's about what you want your brand to be perceived as. It's about you, what you want your brand to be perceived as. And each color represent different thing. For the colors are just not for to represent or playing thing. Color psychology is the study of colors in relation to human behavior, aiming to determine how color affects our day-to-day decisions. We have to keep in mind that there will also be variations in interpretation, meaning, and perception between different cultures. Red refers for excitement, strength, love, energy. Orange refers for confidence, success, bravery, scalability. Yellow refers for creativity, happiness, warmth, cheer. And green represent for nature, healing, freshness, quality. Nature, healing. Blue represent for trust, peace, loyalty, competence, stability. And pink refers for compassion, sincerity, sophistication, sweet. Purple refers for royalty, luxury, spirituality, ambition. Brown refers for dependable, rugged, trustworthy, simple. And black refers for formality, dramatic, sophistication, secure. White refers for clean, simplicity, innocence, and honest. So what colors represent us? How do we, but before designing any app, we have to declare a color palette. Color palette is nothing but just a collection of color, hue, and their shades. We do create color palette to signify some elements and more or less important than others. We create color palette to signify some elements more or less important than others. Many color palette include three colors: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary is basically our brand color, and secondary and tertiary are complementary color that we use to differentiate. Primary colors is also known as accent color. Mostly your primary color are from the logo. Most of the time our most of the time our primary color comes from the logo. Primary color is reversed from primary CTA and banner. Primary color is reserved for primary CTA and banner. Exception can be happen. Your secondary color can also be work as a sometimes your secondary color can also be work as a CTA or vice versa. We will Now we will talk about secondary color. Secondary color provides way more to distinguish your brand. It can be used for button selection control, progress bar, links, and heading highlight. It can be used for buttons selection control, progress bar, links, and headings highlighted selected text. And we will come to the tertiary colors. Tertiary colors we use we use tertiary color at rarely for any specific importance item, and most of the time applying we use 60-30-10% rule while designing any skin. Basically 10% of our brand color, 30% of our secondary colors or primary color, and 60% of neutral colors. How do how do I create color palette? First of all, I choose any color by using color psychology. Like if I'm using a app for healthy food related to health, I will use green. I will most probably like suppose if I'm creating an app for elder people to book nurses, I will use blue because blue represents because blue represents trust, peace, loyalty, competence. And I will use color palette according to it complementary to choose secondary color. And first of all, I'll choose any color by using color psychology. After that, I will go to a website or called Color Space. After it will create me a color palette, or I can create it color palette by using color psychology too, like monochromatic color, triangular color, or whatever it relates, whatever makes feel good. And after that, I will take first like one or two primary color. I will make tint of a primary color, shade of a primary color, secondary color. We can tweak our color style too for multiple screen. Start all we have to do is start with the bare minimum color style. Aesthetically, what is UI design and tips? Users are willing to pay more price to the product that looks good. User often perceive aesthetically pleasing design. User often perceive aesthetically pleasing design as a design that's more usable. If something is highly functional and it doesn't look good, it will not be considered premium. If something is highly functional and doesn't look good, it won't be considered premium. We have to maintain consistency in fonts, icons, button, text, UI elements. Difference primary and secondary CTA. Difference between primary and secondary. Typographical hierarchy. Uh, we should never use pure black. Instead of, we can take a dark shade of our primary color to use it as a text. And shadow should be soft. Shadow should be soft. Use dark tone of background as a shadow, or black the less opacity in case. Use contrast properly. If you use a color on each other, they should have. If I'm using two colors, so both of those two colors have proper contrast. Otherwise, it wouldn't be visible or easy to read. Our text would be double A or triple A. Our text would be AA or triple A. Our text should be double A or triple A compliant, so we don't make mistakes. Use icons to break monotony. If I think that my screen looks boring, I can use icon. I can think if I can use here without text. If I can use here, if I can use icon with text here, it breaks visual monotony. So now we will discover about design palette. Picking the right color when designing interface mobile. First of all, always start with your brand color. Primary and secondary color should good have if you have choose two colors, primary and secondary color. So basically primary and secondary color should have good amount of contrast. This should not be more brightness. This should not be more bright, dull, and saturated. It should meet the contrast ratio. Can you explain the contrast ratio? Yeah, of course. Start with the color, work with it. The moment you feel you need a new color, go for it. Start with the color, choose a color, work with it. The moment you feel you need a new color, go for it. Color is not a decorative thing. It has always a meaning. It's indicate a color is not a decorative thing. Color is not a decorative thing. It has always a meaning. Meaning it is indicating to the user. Think about where and what is the purpose are you using this color. So basically, always start with your brand color, and primary and secondary color should have better contrast from each other. None of the any color should be more bright, dull, or saturated. Choose any saturated. So basically, just choose any single color. Just choose your go. Start with your brand color. The moment you find out that you need a more color, go for it. Go for it. And how can I pick the neutral? How do I pick the neutral color? As long as my design look good, it doesn't matter why you pick that color. Basically, as long as the design look good, it doesn't matter why I choose that color. It's all on how many color palette you want. At least have six color palette for gray. I go with at least six color palette of gray, and you can use this while using the primary color. So basically, first of all, I choose 111 hex code. I choose 1 1 or any dark color primary color, or any primary color of my brand color of any dark shadow of my brand of or I choose any dark shadow of my brand. And I copy it and reduce its opacity to 12%. And after that, after that I use color picker tool and drop it to the another box, so that it won't be so that the opacity should be reduced, and I use it like 12%, 60%, 50%, 70%, 50%. Color styles, tonal value, contrast. It's okay to have 10 sets of color, but assign a particular function. It is okay to have 10 sets of color, but assigning a particular function to each color is really important. A particular color cannot be used as two different purposes except the exception. We can start with only 3 sets too. 10 sets are recommended number to have. Uh, what is tonal number in color design is referred to structure. Color tonal number is color design system is referred to structure way of defining differentiates tone of color. How tonal number works? Usually tonal numbers are assigned in increments 100, like 100, 50, 100, 200, 300 to 900. Lower numbers 50, 10, 12, 200 represent lighter shades change. Higher number represent 700, 800, 900 represent darker shades. Darker shades. The middle value often is base or primary color. Often base or primary color. Yeah, that's all for today. We will meet tomorrow. I will continue with it. I will be better.